Hi, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my lock journey. Guess who's been locked for 2 good years? 2 good years. I'm so excited about that. I'll also try to add that of my daughter's routine as well. If you're interested in any lock business, definitely keep on watching. So, like I said, I've been locked for 2 years and my daughter has been locked for almost 6 months short of 2 years. So I think about 18 months for her. And her's thriving. Okay, how many locks do I have is another question I get so often, and I have about 320 locks. I do have some patches at the back that came off, but in total about 320 locks, and I'm rocking it fabulously, I'll say. What is my lock style? So what I have is actually called micro locks. I see people ask me, do you have micro locks or sister locks? I have micro locks. However, from what I've been told by my loctician, sister lock is a style of grid. Like, it's like a grid pattern for the hair. And my loctician is certified sister lock, right? But it's just like a TM, like a mark on your lock vibe. I don't know, but it doesn't really come out different than this. That's what I'm getting at. Like, most times if you look at someone who has sister locks and you who has micro locks, you know, the grid pattern of that person is different from mine. You can tell because we're not walking around with our scalps open saying come check the grid. So I think for the most part you can easily say both of them are similar, right? They can tend to give off the same vibe, the same outlook, but for the contextual technicalities of it, I have micro locks on my head, and so does my daughter. How were your locks established? My locks were established with 2-strand twist and interlocked at the base, but it is maintained by interlocking. So the same way it was established is the same way it is maintained, but it was a 2-strand twist. And for my daughter, same. However, for our 2-strand twist, I let her it's a tongue twister, man. The day I did my 2-strand twist was the day I interlocked my base, and I'm just like, I was locked from there. But for her, I let her 2-strand twist sit for about a month because I wanted to be sure that once I lock it, there is no going back. And he gave everything he was supposed to give, so I'm like, go lock it, right? And now let me just say I know how to do the interlocking, and I do it for my daughter because it's just easier to manage when she's at home. I can do it throughout 1 week than taking her to my loctician and she has to sit it out. She's so graceful, but it's not always the best of things that I like to do. So when I'm at home, I just do it after school, like 2-3 hours after school. Sometimes I finish it in 2 days or 3 days, but yeah, that's what we have. How long did it take for you to establish your locks? Mine took about 10 hours. If my memory serves me correctly, I was pretty pregnant. I think it took about 10 hours from starting to finish, and I had breaks to eat. My loctician fed me. She even pulled my head on her laps and was pampering me and all of that. And this is a good place to say a big shout out to you, Locs by Gigi. I know we're friends, but you do a great job. I've been professional and also obviously giving me the perks of friendship. So shout out to you. If you're considering locking your hair and you're anywhere in the Canada zone, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below, the link to our website, so you can, you know, sort out all your stuff with her. For my daughter, I think it took like 24 hours. I'm joking, it took a while. Like, it took so long. I remember we left hers around like 1 a.m. that night. It was a long time. I don't even want to know the hours, but obviously she was much younger than this. She was like 2 years and about 5 months, so it was a good thing that we were able to even get it done in those like long hours within a day. Now to the price. A lot of people always say, oh, I want to lock my hair, but the price is there. And I've spoken about this in that video I made about mid-distance wigs, and I feel like that video went over a lot of people's heads, but okay. I'm not complaining, I just said my piece. But I mentioned it there that, you know, if you were maintaining your hair properly before, then this is going to be cheaper for you, right? So for my hair, at the time I established my locks, it was about $650. I'm talking Canadian dollars when I established mine. But now she has a store and a base price is 850 Canadian dollars for 4 inches of hair, and then there's an additional cost you have to pay for every other inch that your hair is. So just keep that in mind. The longer, the more pricey. Okay, I mean, on the brighter side, your locks are going to come out looking all juicy if you love long hair, so you have the advantage here, let's be honest. Currently, and I'm talking for my loctician, okay, but yeah, that's for the price for establishment. Now for retightening, is it even retightening or retightening? I think both can work. I never thought about it. I just always say retightening. Anyway, for retightening, it is professionally advised that you retighten between 6 to 8 weeks. And I'll be honest to say, even though my loctician doesn't like this, I've gone like 8 weeks when I was pregnant before I had my son. That reti before the delivery reti was like 9 weeks, 10 weeks, because I'm like, I don't want to do it now, and then the baby comes, so I pushed it way further to like around my delivery. But obviously that's not advisable. Even for the maintenance and the overall health of your locks, it's advisable you do it between 6 to 8 weeks. And the price for that with my loctician, I know it used to be about $120 to $140, but now I know that it's about $170. And then obviously if you've missed the 8 weeks mark, they add to your cost because now you make them spend more time. So there's that. And obviously I think depending on something again that I don't really remember, but on the average is about $170 every 2 months now. And I think that's so fair. Like I said, if your hair is strong and coarse or healthy, you can even be able to stretch it for up to like maybe 9 weeks or 10 weeks, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, if you do braids or if you buy wigs, that's not really a lot of money. I said it to my elder sister this week because she wants to lock her hair, but she has a relaxed hair on. So in preparation for when she will lock her hair, she was just asking me for details. And when I talked about the price, she was like, okay, but I need to see if it makes more sense. I'm like, sis, you actually buy at least 1 or 2 wigs in a year, and then if you have braids on, you do your braids like every other month. For this one, if you're doing 2 months, that's like 150, or because she's in Calgary, so let's say she finds maybe a cheaper loctician, right? That's like $150 6 times in a year. I think that's really great because your hair is also getting the length, is thriving, it's not temporary like the wig or the braids. Like, I think it's a really good deal, honestly. But yeah, for my daughter, I also maintain that 6 to 8 weeks for her because I mean the way her hair is thriving, that's because mama is just so like, I'm on point with maintaining her locks. And as far as the ready time is concerned, for me it usually takes up to 6 hours. And for my daughter, like I said, I do it now, so it's just like anyhow we're able to do it. But now I know my loctician also, sometimes she just books for her and her people or assistants to do it together, so they can finish your hair in like 3 hours, because it's like, you know how it is when so many people are doing your braids at the same time, the time is faster. So you can get something like that. You don't have to sit for 6 hours if you don't have the time. What I usually do is go there and respond to my emails while at it, binge watch something while at it, you know, edit videos I have to while at it, or sometimes just gist because she's my friend. But those are just ideas of things you can do. If you work from home and you don't have to have your video on, you can just be sat there and retightening your hair, right? So yeah, it takes about 4 to 5 hours. And then there's also something called perimeter retightening. So sometimes say I don't want to retighten my hair after 6 weeks, but I have a very important appointment in the next week, I just retighten the perimeter. So all the places that are very visible. I do it for my daughter too. Say when I'm restyling her hair and I see that the style I'm giving her is exposing some older parts, I just retighten the, you know, perimeter, and that takes like 1 or 2 hours depending on what you're retightening. Now for maintenance, the part that many people are like, it looks easy, but is it easy? Well, I'm here to tell you my experience, and you get to decide if it is easy or if it is not easy. Washing. So ideally in the beginning, when your lock is first established, because there is a chance of it unwrapping, so if you start with a 2-strand twist like I did, if you wash it too much, then it can just like untangle, right? So in the beginning, they usually advise don't wash your hair for up to 3 weeks or a month or 6 weeks. And even when you want to wash it, make sure you section it, as we used to do our natural hair when we wash it in sections. But I guess if maybe you sweat a lot or your hair is exposed to a lot of dirt, you can still section it maybe 3 weeks, but it's just usually advised to wait till your hair starts to form before you actually like wash it. Now my routine is I wash every 2 weeks. Sometimes I've stretched it to 3 weeks, and sometimes when I work out and I sweat a lot, I've done like 1.5 weeks. But on the average, I wash my hair every 2 weeks or every 2.5 weeks. And same with my daughter, even though she goes to daycare, because it is usually styled and packed up, for the most part it's not exposed to dirt and stuff. So wash every 2 weeks. And what do I use to wash? Honestly, I think any shampoo that was working for you when you were natural, you can use. And that's pretty much what I've stuck to. I've tried some, but I'm just like, there's really no difference. So now I just use my normal Tresemme shampoo is what I use. I've tried Shea Moisture as well, but I just stick to my Tresemme shampoo, and I buy the one that just really fits the texture and the state of my hair. And that's the same thing I use for my daughter as well. No conditioners used here. I've seen people who use conditioners on top, but my loctician has advised me that it can cause a build-up, and you don't want build-up in your locks. That means that the content, like the conditioner, just doesn't wash as well. Conditioners are even more slippery, and over time if you keep conditioning, it can cause build-up. Those can make your locks to swell more than they're supposed to, or cause visible dirt in the strands of your locks. So I just use shampoo, honestly, and bam, I'm good. Now after washing my hair, I oil my hair for sure. I just use olive oil. When I was like loose natural, I used to mix my olive oil with coconut oil, with jojoba oil, with tea tree oil. But now honestly, like, I just use olive oil, the same one I use in my kitchen. I pour it in a bottle like so. The other day my loctician gave me this other one. It's some kind of oil. It even has some things infused in it, but honestly, see, I haven't even used it much. I just stick to my olive oil. Same with my daughter. Once our hair is washed, I use the olive oil all over the scalp mostly, and then I rub some all over the strands of the hair, but loosely. But the most part that gets the oil is the scalp, right? And for the oiling, I do that like every week at least. Now every day I spray the hair, or every other day. So every other day I use this spray, and in my loctician just gave me this one. You can see it also has a nozzle for spraying. So I think practically anything that can just get the spray in your hair. That's what I do for my daughter every day she's off to daycare. That's what I do for my hair. Myself, I can do like every other day, honestly. But for my daughter, because she goes out every day, I do that. She's exposed to humidity, so I want the hair to be really like moisturized. This is rose water. The one I have at home is just water, just tap water. And honestly, before my loctician even gave me this rose water, I haven't bought rose water in like 3 months. I just always refill with water. I realized that water was doing the job. Now don't get me wrong, rose water definitely has like more benefits, because it's infused with like things that can benefit your hair better. But for some reason I just haven't gotten to buying it, because I thought that water was doing exact same thing. In the beginning, till like that 2 to 3 months ago that I haven't bought it, I used to just order every month or every other month. When my daughter and I will finish it, I'll order another one and pour it here, actually, because the bottles the rose water comes in were always so difficult to pump, but this is like the easiest I have seen to pump. But like I said, even if you don't have rose water and your locks are thriving, I think water does the job just fine, honestly, because at the end of the day is to keep it moisturized. Something else I do every day is definitely to cover my hair with a satin bonnet every time I'm going to bed. Now I can't just ignore the fact that it is not still a natural hair, and the downside of having locks is that if you're exposed to like cotton pieces and stuff, lint they call it, so those just tiny threads can really fall into pieces of your locks. That happened to my daughter, and I'm just like, how did I miss that? Because in the beginning I used to try to take it out every morning, But with time, I just noticed, especially at the back that she used to lay to sleep, she had like so many like locks. So literally the thread is locking into your lock, and it just looked awkward. But I mean, if she grows up and it's too much, she can dye it. There's even a shampoo dye that my loctician gave me, and I just rubbed off. So it didn't touch her scalp, but I just rubbed off on the hair, and it really changed the outlook. I've used that just once, by the way. But I mean, there are ways around that. But if you can control it, because my hair has no lint. Things that cause lint, like I said, is usually like cutting pieces or dandruff in your hair. If you leave the dandruff over time, the dandruff can then lock with your hair, and then it looks like lint, and it's just like not healthy to look at sometimes. But it's also hardly noticeable. But if someone comes up close, they can see all those things in your locks. Do make sure to wear a satin scarf or satin bonnet to sleep. More recently, that my daughter is now 4, she's also wearing a satin bonnet to sleep, and so that has also helped to drastically reduce, well, on the days that she's able to and she chooses to, but that has also drastically reduced the amount of lint that goes in her hair. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the styling, the trimming, or the coloring of your hair. As far as styling go, I am pro comfort, honestly. And for the longest time, I just used to have my locks in the same style it was made, or that it's been, retightened. Now, when you're retightening your hair, you can pick the direction of style you want. So sometimes I tell my loctician I want a middle part, so that way she just retightens some here and some here, so that the part is formed. And most times it's by the side for me, because I think that looks better on me. But for the most part, I just leave it like that. Now these days, because I can pack my hair all to the back, I just like to pin it with some rubber bands like so. And that's exactly the same thing I use to style my daughter's hair. I style hers more often because I mean, I really want her to always have that like cute little girl look. Yes, my hair is locked, but I'm still a baby girl, so I use a lot of beads, and you can find all of these things on YouTube as well. So style it for her. Sometimes I braid it. Like, she just always has popping hairstyles. But for me, maybe because I'm also grown, there's a limit to like the styles I can do. I just usually just leave it. I feel like ponytail has always been my vibe. So when my hair gets way longer than this, honestly, I know that I'm just going to be styling it back, or half up, half down. But now I'm just like, because sometimes when I pack it to the back these days, I still feel some pressure in my edges, and I'm trying to let those breathe. Postpartum has done a great deal on them. But honestly, if you're the type who is very adventurous and you're into styling, there is a bunch of styling you can do. My younger sister, who is locked, called me yesterday, and even though she has traditional locks, the way she did that hair, I'm just like, what? I'm sure I'm going to put a picture here. I'm just like, what? That is gorgeous. So like I said, there are many styles you can do. If you have the time and you're into it, you can play with it. For the most part, when I'm working out, I just put a headband on, or other days I just like leave it like so. But now that we're talking about styling, let me show you guys, because what will a lock video be without me playing a bit with my hair, right? So that was one style you guys saw. This is my go-to everyday style. I feel like it really gives a lot of definition to my face. I can be a bit fierce with it, and then but I also just always like my hair to drop. Sometimes I go the middle pattern route. You see how easy it is once the hair is like wet and moisturized. That was like so easy. So sometimes, even though my loctician did the side part, after a while when the base is getting loose, I think I've had this now for like 3 weeks, my retightening, that is, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So when the base is getting loose, it's so easy to change the direction of the part you want, and then you can pack it up and all that. So yes, you can play with your hair, you can style it however you want, and all that good stuff. Now, when it also comes to coloring, I've been toying with the idea of like coloring my tips, because when I started to establish my locks, I actually had my tips as like golden brown, like gold, and but unfortunately it was weighing down my locks in the beginning. So the professional advice I've heard is it's better to color your hair when the locks are formed. That way they can withstand you know, the color and stuff. But in the beginning, my locks were struggling because the tips that were relaxed were just like they're just really weighing down the whole hair and all of that. So I had to cut it. So that's another thing, I had to cut it and trim it. But honestly, on a general scope, except you're going for like a look, like a cut, you want to cut some form of style, you really don't need to like trim your hair for it to be healthy. When we're loose naturals, like you have to, because you see the dead ends falling off, and you would have like, you know, what's that thing called? I've forgotten all the terms of those natural hair movements then. Whatever, like dead ends falling off, there was a name for it. But now there's really no reason to cut it, because your locks are pretty much healthy to, you know, the ends of it, right? So you don't have to cut. But for coloring advice, like I said, when your locks are established, you can definitely cut them. So I'm going to put a before and after picture. Bear in mind that I said I cut my locks in between because I had to cut off all of the what's it called, colored length. If I hadn't cut it, actually I don't think it would have stopped the growth, but I was so impatient in that first year. And I have to say this, if your hair is freshly locked, that road can be so annoying, honestly, because it's like, oh, I've seen Tolulope's locks, I love it, so I lock my hair and I want it to be like that. I remember telling my loctician, oh, you made my hair too thin, it's so thin, I wanted it to be like fluffy and stuff. And 2 years now I'm here, I'm getting the look. Like, I'm so thankful she didn't even listen to me and made it bigger, because then I wouldn't have been satisfied, because I just prefer like the smaller micro locks, right? So just saying that to pass you some good patience. If you're just starting out on your lock journey, it will really make sense. It teaches a lot of patience, I can't lie, to be patient with your own journey. Yes, you can see what you're seeing and admiring things in other people, but just like your hair, everybody's journey in life is really individualistic, and time is going to do its thing. The favor of God is going to do its thing. But having said that, again, if you're just starting out, just make sure that you're washing your hair when you can, you're taking care of your locks, sleeping with the bonnet, oiling it and all that good stuff. But anyway, that's it. I think I've covered everything, and now I can refer everybody who asked me a lock related question to this video. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Whenever your heart is broken, don't ever forget you're golden. I will find a light in your soul.